On the 623rd day of the war in Ukraine, the fighting was concentrated in these areas. In Kherson front, according to some Russian sources, the situation is becoming more and more complicated and dangerous for the Russian army. Today, Russian sources reported that not only Ukrainians continue to have a solid foothold on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River, but they also expanded their area of control inside the village of Krynky, where according to Russians, now the Ukrainian presence mounts up to over 300 soldiers, or roughly a battalion-sized unit. Previously, Russian sources warned that the Ukrainian forces were seen using the PTS-2 amphibious cargo vehicles to transport armored fighting vehicles across the river. According to some Russian sources, including Romanov, apart from the BTR-4 that was brought to the eastern bank 2 days ago, Ukrainians might have been able to transport other vehicles, and now they likely operate a small number of armored vehicles in their bridgehead in Krynky. To prove their claims, Russian sources published a video of a burning light armored vehicle, which according to them was a Humvee of the Ukrainian armed forces that was recently spotted by Russian drones on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Furthermore, today the Russian meal blogger Romanov informed that the situation across the Dnipro is getting more serious, as recently the Ukrainian armed forces have deployed their air defense systems just 2 or 3 kilometers away from the western bank of the river. According to him, now Ukrainian forces are shielded by at least 2 OSA and 1 Iris-T air defense systems, which have a range of about 12 and 25 kilometers respectively. Ukrainian drone units continue to dominate the area south of the Poima-Korsunka line and along the E58 highway, which is the main supply line for all the settlements which are situated on the eastern bank of the river. Ever since the start of their operations in this sector, Ukrainian drone units have managed to destroy a very high number of Russian tanks, armored vehicles and artillery systems, effectively weakening the response of the Russian forces to the formation of the Ukrainian bridgeheads near Poima, Pitstepne and Krynky. According to Russian sources, thanks to the effective drone and artillery support, Ukrainians managed to expand their bridgehead in Krynky, gaining more ground east and south of the settlement. The Ukrainian objective is to advance through the forest south of Krynky and cut off the E58 highway, which would cause serious supply issues for the Russian forces near Kozachyi Lageri, a town that appears to be one of the main objectives of the Ukrainian army. In Donetsk front, battles are ongoing north, south and southwest of Avdiivka. Despite the heavy battles and the repeated Russian attempts to break through the Ukrainian defense, during the past few days the territorial changes were minimal. In the northern part of the sector, battles remain concentrated on the Stepove chemical plant line. As previously reported, in this direction the Russian army is mostly sending waves of infantry forces in attempts to establish a solid control over some positions along the 3 lines east of the railway and subsequently attempt to cross on the other side. According to reports from various Russian and Ukrainian sources, Russian forces are solidifying their control east of the railway, but so far there is still no solid evidence of Russians establishing a presence on the other side. A little further north, Russian tanks opened fire on Ukrainian positions northeast of Stepove, while Ukrainian forces responded with counterattacks from Ocheretine and Novokalinove, trying to destabilize the Russian flank and slow down their advance towards the west. On the southern part of the sector, Russian forces made new attempts to advance towards Tonenka and Sievierne, but according to Ukrainian sources, the Russian advances were limited to the areas north of the quarry, with the Russian forces sustaining heavy casualties due to the lack of armored support. Russian sources acknowledged the advance of the Ukrainian forces on some defensive positions that are built between the railways that are located south of the Ukrainian stronghold. Ukrainian forces regained the lost ground south of Avdiivka after an intense artillery preparation followed by a successful counterattack of the infantry units. Friends, if you like my daily updates, I kindly ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as this will greatly help the channel to reach a wider audience. That's all for today's update. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and have a great day.